Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for dropping by. Well, as promised, it's Q&A time. A little bit later than I intended, but we're here. We've finally made it eventually. And I just want to thank everyone who has dropped a question on my community page. You know, this is something I ask you all to do because I do get a lot of questions. I mean, this is the reason why I'm going to do this Q&A section series, whatever you want to call it, because I do get quite a lot of questions. And so if you do happen to have any kind of astronomy related question, jump onto my community page. What I shall do is take a screenshot of all these if I don't get round to them all, and then set a fresh one up. So don't worry, I will get round to all of your questions. So that's where you need to put your questions at the minute. Just one more little word that I just want to mention. On my community page, for some reason, some of the questions are getting deleted. Now, I can assure you from hand on heart, it's not from me. For some reason, I don't know what it is. You know how sensitive YouTube is now with its guidelines and everything. So even though it won't be spam, it probably just sees your question as spam and deletes it itself. So it's got nothing to do with me. If you do have this problem, you can always drop me a question at smalloptics.com. I will leave the link to that email in the link below, of course. Well, anyway, with that being said, let's get on with the questions. And like I say, I've had over 30 of them. So now, I'm going to attempt to read some of the names, but if I don't, they'll be all on the screen anyway. So let's go with the first one. Okay. And like I say, guys, I'm pretty much reading these live as we speak. I have briefly fired through them, and there are some great questions. And once again, thanks for any of you that have dropped me a question. So this is by, well, here we go, Blumejestigogian. Up on the screen. Great question. Any tips for viewing other galaxies and deep sky objects like Andromeda? Now, like I've always said, when it comes to deep sky objects, you do need or prefer to be under dark skies. Now, I've always said if you take your telescope, any telescope, to really dark locations, it's like adding 2 inches of aperture to any telescope. Because remember, a telescope's not about how much you can magnify, it's how much light it can gather. This is why, such as the Andromeda that you're talking about, it's a nice big, quite almost, in astronomy terms, quite a bright galaxy, and this is why even small telescopes don't really struggle to see it. I mean, you can see it with the naked eye, of course. But as soon as you get down to the fainter galaxies, this is where you're going to need aperture, and you're also going to need dark skies. That's the most important thing, really. Now, I've done many videos on how to combat light pollution, so go and have a look on my hints and tips page. I'm sure it's on there. If not, there'll be some links in the description of dealing with light pollution, because this is going to be your biggest combat when dealing with your deep sky targets. But in a nutshell, nice dark location, darker you can get it, the better. And also low power. You don't need high power when it comes to viewing any galaxy or deep sky object, really. The only time you start boosting up the power, which means you start increasing your magnification by increasing a smaller millimeter or focal length eyepiece. For instance, if you're using a 15mm and you drop down to like a 5mm, the only time you would ever do anything as extreme as that would be things like star clusters, globular clusters, because sometimes as long as you've got the dark skies and the aperture, putting on a little bit of power with such as the star clusters, the globular clusters especially, can really bring out the individual stars. But as a rule, dark skies, low power. Right, next question is from William Kemp, 5437. What is the best way to observe the circumpolar constellations with a refractor? Do you have to spend the night on your knees, or is there an easier method? Great question. Now, what Mr. William is referring to there, for all if you don't know, when it comes to refractor telescopes, of course you're looking down at the bottom of the telescope, unlike reflecting telescopes, where you're looking at the top. Now, the circumpolars are usually constellations that they're not always high, but a lot of them can be quite high up in the sky. And obviously, refractors have to be quite, pointed quite up, and so you do tend to be on your knees a lot. It's a great question. Now, the only true answer to this is a larger tripod, a good sturdy tripod. But of course, that we haven't all got that. And the easiest solution to this is to sit down. There's no rules saying that we have to stand up at the eyepiece. And a refractor is a great place where you can do that, and you'll find with different chairs kicking around your house will be the perfect height where you can get the tripod at a certain height and this whatever chair you've chose, and it will be the perfect height and be a lot more comfortable. And it's a great question, this, because it is really important to be comfortable at the eyepiece. It's no point in being cramped, you can spend half your time, half the night just getting the object in the field of view. Trust me, we've all been there. And then to finally get it and be all cramped up like this, it's not good. So always make sure that you're viewing the night sky, or when you're at the eyepiece, you're comfortable. You're not stooped. You're at the right level. Stools and chairs is a great solution to this. So thanks for that great question. Right. Nathan in Nilton, 1939. Good morning. I discovered your channel now. It's great. I learned from a few hours of watching last night. And all the best. Right, all the best to you, my friend. Thanks for dropping that by. And that's where you, Southeast Virginia. All the best, my friend. Where do you get your equipment from? Who was recommended online seller for telescopes? Now, I'm a big fan of the second-hand market. This is where I get a lot of my equipment. Well, I tell a lie. Now I've started a YouTube channel, I do get a lot of stuff sent to me. But as a rule, it's usually places like eBay, or I'll go to local search engines. Now, here in the UK, we've got one called Spock. I think they call it, and it's just like a local shopping eBay, if you like. People put stuff up for sale. It's got a search engine, and the rest of that, and you can do your mileage. And that's the where I go for, where I get a lot of things from on that side. And eBay, just the eBay second-hand market. The thing is with telescopes is now not necessarily for like things like eyepieces, but if it's for the telescopes and things like that, the main tube sort of thing. The thing is with telescopes, people soon lose interest, especially if they've bought a big telescope. So I'm doing an entire video on that pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And people get bored, and they can put these telescopes up for, silly prices sometimes. So keep an eye out. Always have a good look for the second-hand market. Now, apart from that, if you don't like buying second-hand, and it's always a good idea, really, when you do buy second-hand, is to make sure that you can go and at least have a look at the telescope. That's why I don't really favour eBay. I'll prefer this local site. Always a good idea to check over any telescope before buying it, but you can take the chance, and usually, you've got to be pretty unlucky to get a bad one. Other than that, it all depends on where you live if you want to buy new, and my advice I can give you is just go on Google telescope suppliers in my area. Boom, and it'll just give you a list of telescopes. And even if there's none in your area, the vast majority of them will ship to you. So That's the best advice. And I'm kind of sounded a little bit like an hypocrite if you watch some of my other videos, because I always say, oh, go to a telescope supplier, never go second hand. But I've kind of broadened that opinion a little bit, and so keep your eyes peeled on the second-hand market as well, because there's some real bargains at times. Okay, thank you for the question. So where'd you get coming from? Okay, we got Marzipan Human. Great name. Hi, what is your opinion on cheapish broadband filters for visual? I was pondering lately whether I could use a UHC or a CLS filter to try to get better views of nebula with my 4-inch refractor. 4-inch refractor, that is right, isn't it? Yeah, 4-inch refractor. Nice telescope. Through the brand. The brand one seems a bit pricey, so I consider SVBs from China. Yeah, so you're considering, yeah, I see where you're going. Sorry, where are we going? Mr. Marzipan. One thing you'll find on this channel is you'll find no equipment snobbery, and I will straight away go for the cheap ones first. There's no point at all in spending, mortgage amounts of money on equipment where you're not quite sure about. So I've found that you picked a great company there, SV Boni are one of my favourite budget, sorry for knocking the table, camera wobbling, one of my favourite budget astronomer suppliers. I've not had one bad product from SV Boni, so it's a good choice that you've mentioned that. The other things to take into consideration with filters, sometimes it can be quite literally in the eye of the beholder. Now, what I mean by that is some people use them and favour them, some people don't really get much benefits from them. I'm a kind of in between. The only filter I ever use for visual is a moon filter. This one I advise for you to get, and it's, in my opinion, the only filter you really need for visual astronomy, because the moon is so bright. You need to tone that brightness down. But the filters you're talking about, you give them a go. That's the best advice I can try. I've had minimal sort of effects by using filters, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. And like I say, it depends on who you ask. Filters generally are for astrophotography, and this is where they really benefit from, or you really benefit from your filters. But some people really, like I say, oh no, I'm all for a UHC, use it. So, like I say, don't break the bank, go for your cheap ones. SV Boni, nothing wrong with their products. So, yeah, give them a go. Okay, thanks for the question, Mr. Marzipan Human. Great name. Okay, Paul Elliott 5509. Hi, what astronomy apps do you recommend or use? Many thanks in advance. Thank you, Paul. Paulie, is it Paulie? Paul? No, it's Paul. Paul Elliott. Yeah, Paul Elliott. Thanks, Paul. The only one that I ever use, and use it all the time, is Stellarium. There's no surprises there, I suppose, to most people. Now, if you haven't got Stellarium, go and get it now. There is a paid and a free version. The free version is going to give you most of what you need as a beginner astronomer. I have done some how-to videos for using Stellarium, so have a look on my playlist, have a look around for that. I will leave links if I remember, I can't promise anything. And have a look for Stellarium. It's a fantastic app. There's nothing that you won't be able to find on Stellarium. All your constellations, where the planets are, etc. It'll give you the time of the ISS, for instance. It'll show you when the ISS is coming over in your area. You can track satellites if that's your thing. Just you name it, you can get it on Stellarium. Now, whether you can get all those features I've just mentioned on the free version, not sure, but it's still well worth just downloading, having a play with it. And I'm sure once you get to realise just how good it is, you'll have no trouble parting with a few pounds or dollars for however much the paid version. It's not extortionate, so it's well worth it. So Stellarium is the one, the only one I really ever recommend. Thank you for the question. Great question. Okay, Sawyer64110 asks, what are some cheap options for telescope cameras under the modified webcams, and is it possible to photograph deep sky objects with telescope cams? Right, great question. Now, admittedly, as you probably know, I am no astrophotographer. The advice I will give is only on the knowledge I know, and I will never ever try and give you any advice that I'm not sure about. So astrophotography really isn't my strong point, but as it goes with your cameras, as we've just mentioned earlier, SV Boney do a great little starter camera. The 105, I think I've got it right, and is it the 205? I think they are. I can't remember offhand. I'll flash them up. Two great budget cameras. Now, as I remember, they were round about £50, $50, round about that sort of price, which is great for an astronomy camera. And they're a great gateway into astrophotography, because like I've always said, it's a real rabbit hole. It really is once you get into the world of astrophotography. It's not as easy as point, click, point, shoot and get a great result. There's a lot more to it. And before spending extortionate amounts of money on an expensive camera, astro camera, SV Boney are a great alternative for a cheap entry-level camera into that side of the hobby. What else did you mention? Is it possible for now? Some I do believe, and some not. Is it possible to take deep sky photos? It all depends on the camera. The more expensive ones, I believe you can take deep sky. The SV Boney ones I've just mentioned, they're only good for the planets and the moon. Okay, but you can get some fantastic photographs with it, and there is a bit of learning curve to them though, like I say, but yeah. So some do, some don't. It all depends on the price. Obviously the ones that take deep sky, you were starting to go into a few hundreds of pounds. That's about as much as I can tell you on that. Okay, thank you for the question. Whatever. Ryden, is it right? No, hold on. Ride Daniel 514. I do apologise for these pronunciations of names. I'm terrible at them. But this chap here, or chapess, I think it's a chap. What are the best eyepiece recommendations for under £50? Well, where do I begin? Quite a loaded question. There's quite a few, my friend, lots and lots. Nearly every eyepiece I have ever reviewed on this side is under £50. So, and if they come onto my channel, it means I've recommended them. Off the top of my head, there's the SV Boney ranges, do a lot of great budget range eyepieces. The red band, the gold band eyepieces, and even the very, very cheap aspheric eyepieces that they do. Now, the only word of warning about the aspheric ones, you can buy them in a set for under £30. But you're only really getting two eyepieces, and that's the 23mm, I believe it is, and the 10mm. The 4mm is not very good at all, and you will never use it, trust me. But that's the ultimate, from your ultimate low end would be your SV Boney aspheric, and then up to, like I say, your red bands and your gold bands in the SV Boney range. Another range to look for is a Plossl, I always recommend Plossl eyepieces, and again, Plossl is not a brand name. It's just simply how the lens elements are arranged. You know, you get modified achromat eyepieces, you get Kellner eyepieces, and you get Plossl eyepieces, and it's just the lens elements and how they're arranged. But these are great entry level upgrades, if you like. No, not entry level. That's, well, they are an entry level eyepiece, I suppose. But they're a great upgrade to your existing modified achromat or Kellner that I've just mentioned. So anything in the Plossl range, you're going to get under £50. So I hope I've given you a few ideas there, my friend. Again, thanks for the question. Great question. Okay. Let's have a look. Is there a good way to... Right, right. Is there a good way to view exoplanet transits? Great question. Database equipment, etc. Again, we've already mentioned it, stellarium. I'm not 100% sure that you can view exoplanet transits, but I'm pretty much 90% sure you will be able to, if that makes sense. Yeah, so look on stellarium and it should get you everything you need to know. Apart from that, we're going back a little bit old-fashioned into books. You know, there's a lot of good books out there. Off the top of my head, for studying exoplanets, I can't, think. But that's something, maybe have a look down that line. I'm sure there'll be something on the ebook section. But for a freebie, I would jump onto the App Store. If you haven't already got Stellarium, get that installed, and that's where you want to start. Great question. Okay, how to disassemble an old EQ mount and service it so it's new again. Wow, go for it. That's all I'd say. I would never attempt it. You could guarantee there would be parts left over. There always is with me. I'm not very mechanical. It's not in a video I would attempt. If you want to do it, if you can buy a cheap, and there's plenty kicking around, trust me, very, very cheap EQ mounts. Even if they're broken, what have you got to lose? Have a go. And these days, what I always say, or what I do whenever I'm taking anything apart, is take photographs. Just take a series of photographs. It's an easy thing to do now with phone cameras, and then you know how to put it back together, sort of. But good luck with that one. Let me know how you get on. Went for my glasses on top of my head there. They're on the table. Yeah, dismantling. I wouldn't like to tackle that. I really wouldn't. Okay, right. By the way, that was from Tube FR71. How to disassemble a EQ mount. Okay, this is from Matt Idifipoleno. Matto Idifipoleno. This guy here. Okay, back. Can you explain how to understand which eyepieces are more suited for fast telescope? I have an f5. Simple answer, don't worry about it. Now, this is one of those questions where you can have a real lengthy discussion about it, and other people say don't worry about it. And I'm in this section of don't worry about it, because I've never, ever come across an eyepiece that doesn't work with a telescope. I've been to the limit where I really maybe have got full focus back or something, there's really not a lot to play with, or I might be really close to where I can't get enough focus inward travel, but I've never ever had an eyepiece that hasn't worked with a telescope. Now, you can get technical with this and do all the formula for what works with what. In all my time, doing astronomy, I've never ever bothered. And like I say, I've always just bought eyepieces. I've just bought them on the quality and whatever focal length they are. I've never thought, oh, I hope this works with my telescope. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just buy eyepieces. Like I say, I guarantee it'll work with your telescope, no matter what focal length. Okay, great question. Thanks for that. Right then. A few more, and then we'll leave it at that. Like I say, if I don't get to your question, I will get to it eventually. So let's have a look. We'll just have a few more, right? Okay, this is from Krithkick 8472. Again, I'll flash you up. I am able to get a discount on a Celestron Astromaster 130 EQ for around $120. Should I buy it? Yeah. If it's in good condition, if it works, why not? $120 is not a bad price. For new, I think you're talking around about $250, $230, depending on where you shop for. But if you can, did you say it is saying? Yeah, it is saying on an EQ. We're able to get a discount on a Celestron Astromaster. Oh, a discount. So it's a discount, right? I do apologise. I thought it was second hand. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. They're a great little telescope. Now the Astromaster, as far as I know, when it comes to Celestron, I believe there's only one telescope that you should be wary of, and that is one that has what's called a Bird-Jones focuser or focus type design. Avoid those. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly which model of Celestron this. I don't think it's the Astromaster, the Astromaster that you've mentioned, but it's something that's probably worth looking into, and just check on any specs on the telescope, and if Bird-Jones design is mentioned, avoid, look elsewhere. Okay. Okay. My. Ask, are you ever going to get some large optics? As I remember this one, probably the largest you will ever see on this channel is going to be, I do want to get myself an 8-inch reflector, and that's probably the largest you're going to see on this channel, I would have thought. When that's going to happen, who knows. We'll have one more for now. One more for now. What we got? From BMR93. Hi Jason, I have a question and I really hope you can answer it. It's been bugging me for a while. Why do galaxies differ so much in size, shape, composition and activity? Wow, great question. I hope you can answer this for me. Well, the simplest answer is well, think of a stone, and how is a stone formed? If you were to pick a stone up or dig a stone up in the ground, and then get another stone, it's going to be different. And it's just basically how it's formed. I mean, this is the simplest question simplest way I can explain this. And that's basically it. It's just the ingredients and the components that come together to make that particular galaxy. And you get, like I say, you get no two stones that are the same, and because of how they're formed, it's totally random, and that's why you get never two galaxies. You do get some that are very, very similar, such as spiral galaxies can look very, very similar to one another. So you do get sort of, but they're not identical, if you get what I mean. And again, you get spirals, but just purely how it's formed. How galaxies are formed is an entire video on itself, so that's the simplest way I can think of answering that question. Great question though, thanks a lot. Well folks, I've got through a few there. I hope I've helped a few of you with some of their questions. Great questions. And like I say, don't worry if I haven't answered them. I will get to them. I know I've got some on my email as well that I've not covered. So we're going to get a video out soon, very, very soon, hopefully, answering the rest of your questions. So once again, thank you so much for watching, if you have watched this far, and take good care of yourselves, and I will see you all very, very soon. So in the meantime, take good care. Bye for now.